Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program Shagalinku. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and it's good to have you again on the Saturday's edition of the program. Today we have so much to talk about with little time to do all that, and I've got my special guest in the house. Let me welcome Madam Ronke Onadeko. I wish I have tambourine to clap for you, ma. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's been forever to have you, and when you finally agreed to be on the show, my heart was just hitting biggie beam like Nigerian Railway, and I'm like, Madam is always busy. She could just fly out at any point in time, but I am just happy to have you here, ma'am. I'm just happy.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I know you hold a lot of portfolios. We'll be looking at the oil and gas industry, but I want for first-time viewers who are watching us from across the globe to know who Madam Ronke is, what she does, where she's from, and then we'll take it up from there, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Ronke Onadeko, and I'm first and foremost I'm an entrepreneur. I started out my career in food science and technology, and I had a bit of a stint in food and beverages and food manufacturing. And along the way, I stumbled upon oil and gas found me, to be precise. And then I did that for quite a few years. I've also been in the fast-moving consumer goods business. I used to manufacture my own brand of beverage at some point in time. So I've been a consultant in oil and gas, especially in the downstream sector. I've worked on the finance side of upstream, midstream, and downstream. And my most recent portfolio was in public service. I always say people should try out public service so that you're not on the complaining side. And I worked for 4 years for the state government, consulting on energy to His Excellency, then Governor of Ogun State, Senator Bikunle Amosu. And right now, I'm a COVID mom at home with 3 children under the age of 3. And that, I must tell you, has been the most challenging and most rewarding part of my CV. And I'm from Nigeria, as you all know. And I really look forward to this afternoon where we'll engage on things to do with Nigeria, the economy, oil and gas, what we're not doing right, and maybe what we could be doing, to move the country forward.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for being here. For those of us joining us now, the program is Shagalinku. It comes your way every Tuesdays and Saturdays at 2 p.m. Nigerian time. And today we're looking at the oil and gas industry. So if you bumped into our flyers a couple of days back that we posted on our social media, we're asking the question, so how do we diversify now that the oil is dwindling? And so much is happening. Every country is like competing now for the space, and then the dollar is also not friendly and all that. And Nigeria, being the country that it is tied down, to the dollars and then the oil price and all that. So we'll be looking at this, and my guest is here, Madam Ronke, to talk about all the issues here. You could drop your comments. We're streaming on 3 destinations: on YouTube, on Facebook, Shagalinku TV page, and on the other personal profile. So you can reach us on any of the platforms. Drop your comments and we'll be reading them. Some have dropped theirs already, and Madam will be taking them as the program progresses. But Madam, let's start from the basics. You've been so into consulting, oil and gas, energy. You've been everywhere when it comes to this, and you're a name and a force to be reckoned with. Let's even start with the first things. Are you not worried that issues are taking over the space? We're just beginning to see that our economy was trying to come out of recession, and then the COVID thing and the pandemic, the lockdown and all that brought its own baggage of trouble when we're also fighting oil and all that. Are you not worried, Ma, that when we had the oil boom, my grandmother used to talk so well about the oil boom, economy was good and all that, and the new generation seem to be hearing history about all that. Are you not worried that when the oil boom was on, Nigeria as a country didn't take out time to plan and make sure we save for the rainy day, like they always say?
Okay, I'll just take us back a little bit so that everybody can be on the same page. Nigeria is a gas and oil rich country, and I say that deliberately, gas and oil as opposed to oil and gas, because our largest resource is gas and then oil. And from the days when oil was found in Oloibiri in Rivers State, Nigeria, I mean, it's now in Bayelsa State, I believe, but it was then Rivers.
Yeah.
The country actually diversified from so many agricultural products that we were exporting: cocoa, cotton, groundnut. I mean, people, if you read the history of Nigeria, you'd hear about the groundnut pyramids in Kano. There was a lot of cotton being harvested and exported. There was a lot of cocoa being exported from Nigeria. And Nigeria was doing very well. Some of the stories that we heard were how the Malaysians came to Nigeria to see what we were doing in terms of oil palm produce. And they took seedlings away from Nigeria, went to Malaysia, started plantations in palm produce, and lo and behold, many, many years after, Nigeria started to import from Malaysia. I mean, this just goes to show that Nigeria has had a very, very rich culture and background in productivity. Unfortunately, the entry and introduction of oil in the economy brought about a distortion. Everybody abandoned production and thought, oh, we found gold in our backyard. Why do I have to go to work anymore? Not knowing that comes with certain natural resources. Everything else goes down, it goes up. Unfortunately for us, not only do we depend on oil for our economy, for revenue for the government, oil, the factors that control oil prices are very, very unaffected by Nigeria as a country. And what do I mean by that? Everybody bases, petroleum product prices on international factors. The most beneficial people are those who have oil and have dollars. The oil is the currency of the world economy, and the dollar is the currency that backs it. So if you have one and not the other, there's a distortion. For example, Nigeria produces, averagely 2 million barrels of oil a day. We have to sell this crude oil to get dollars to run our economy. So based on international prices, if oil prices go up, we're getting a lot more. When oil prices go down, we're getting a decrease in revenue. That is exactly what happened to us during the COVID period, and I'll come back to that. We've had a series of oil booms where the prices of oil, for some reason or the other, have shot up, way beyond what we expected. And a few of those caused by situations in the Gulf. If there's a war breaking out or there's a potential war coming up, and they think there's going to be scarcity of production from Saudi Arabia and the Arab countries, then the demand for oil takes a higher, pace. And because of that demand, as demand increases and there's an anticipated decrease in supply, prices go up. So Nigeria has had several opportunities. And this windfalls, what is supposed to happen in the real sense is that if Nigeria was expecting to sell oil, for example, I'm just using this for example, at $10 per barrel, and we want to sell, and we think we're going to sell 10 barrels. So we're looking at an approximation of about $100. So during a windfall, if, for example, prices jump from $10 to $50, we find out that that same 10 barrels, now we earn $500, $400 more, because it is 5 times more than what we were expecting. The natural thing for a responsible, resource-rich country to do is to put away the $400 additional that we didn't anticipate we were going to make into some account. And that account would be an account that would be for a rainy day. If something happen and prices go down, the opposite of what is happening right now, where would we go to augment our revenue? That's one example. If prices go down. Two, the generations of Nigerians that are yet to come that are going to know that Nigeria used to have lots of oil and we had lots of money, and they would need to do certain major capital-rich projects. So having money sitting in the bank would be a good advantage for them over and above other countries that don't have natural resources to draw on. And I want to give this very practical example. I'm a Nigerian, and Nigeria is my dad. My dad owns companies and businesses that is doing a lot of stuff. As a child, when my father is having his large business is booming, I expect for a rainy day. So that as I get older, I want to go for a PhD, or I want to go for a very expensive school, or there's an opportunity where there's real estate, you could play in the real estate market, or in the technology market, or in the structure market, I should be able to draw on reserves from my father. So I would have advantage over other children whose parents didn't have businesses that had a boom. And that's what Nigeria did not do. The Obasanjo government had huge savings when they left government, but subsequently, they had the money sitting in an account called the excess crude account. The excess crude account apparently has some challenges in terms of how it was constituted and the rules around it. So at that point in time when this was realized, another account got opened, which was a sovereign wealth account. And almost all oil producing countries across the globe have this sovereign wealth account. And it's really for generations to come, for emergencies and whatnot. For example, the emergency of COVID. Every economy had a big dent in their finances. So here goes Nigeria. We go cap in hand to the World Bank, to the IMF, to Africa Development Bank, asking them for relief and packages to help us. Had we done the judicious thing at that time and put money away, we would have our money to dip our hands into, tide us over this period. Nigeria at this point needs a lot of investment and support. Railways need to be built, road networks need to be built, power, both in urban and rural settings need to be done. The ports need to be developed, our waterways need to be developed. All of those things are looking for whooping sums of money. And now we have to go to banks to borrow money at very exorbitant rates to facilitate some of these things. And that's why it's expedient for any country that's a resource-rich country to have an account where they put the excess amount of money beyond what they need to survive at the point in which they actually make the money. I don't know if that sets a tone for some of the other things we're going to be talking about.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much, madam. And it's a good one. You took us back to the oil boom days because, I kept hearing all the laudable stories from my grannies and all that. And I'm like, why not in our own time and everything? So we'll come back and look at what are some of you mentioned a few things concerning loss of revenue and what can be envisaged, going forward. And I also want us to look at a few things that we could just do as a country and as citizens, when it comes to loss of revenue. I know, citizens may not have a chunk of responsibility to do all that. The government needs to put in place a whole lot of institutions, or rather revamp the institutions, if there are any existing, to make sure that all these are clamped down and taken control of. What do you think about loss of revenue and how we can, go moving forward?
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that, when the price of crude oil started to depreciate, I believe that we had assumed crude oil was going to be in the 70s when the budget for 2020 was fixed last year. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, that was a realistic amount to be expecting. And give or take, maybe we do 1.8 million barrels a day or 2 million barrels a day as we wish we could. You know, it was good money. And even over and above that, we were still going to go to the international market to borrow some money to augment our budget for 2020. Unfortunately, 2020 started off with COVID issues, and the price of crude oil dropped. Just for the sake of people who are not industry people who don't understand the fundamentals of that, what happened was that once the coronavirus pandemic started, there was need to shut down cities and countries. And the effect of this is that when you shut down cities and countries, you're shutting down transportation, you're shutting down production, and you're shutting down a whole lot of other things, which I will go into at a later time. Transportation, first and foremost, all airlines were grounded. So nobody's buying aviation fuel. Yeah. Cities were shut down and locked down. So people are not buying petrol for their cars to move around. Trains were reduced, planes were reduced, cars were reduced. So that was one aspect. On the other hand, factories too had to shrink and slow down their production. Some even stopped completely. So any factory that's being powered by natural gas or diesel oil or LPFO, of that nature, the demand for any of these petroleum products like crude oil diminished. Some shut down completely. But because all the oil fields in the world have already had their plans for production, they continue to produce. So all of a sudden there's a glut, too much oil in the system, and nobody buying, nobody using, and nowhere to store it. We had used up all the storage we had. Vessels that were supposed to take oil to different places were fully laden with oil, but nowhere to discharge into. So vessels were actually sitting at ports filled with petroleum products, nowhere to discharge. And once there's an overproduction or an oversupply in an economy of any product, you find out that the price goes down because there's no demand for it. So at some point in time, Canada sold petroleum products at minus XYZ dollars, minus, because somebody had to take the oil off their hands and look for storage. So the person's idea is that if I have to look for storage and take this product off, so that you can stop paying demurrage at the port, so you can stop paying the vessel owner, I'm going to buy it at minus XYZ. So the price of crude oil diminished. It was cheaper to buy water than to buy oil. In fact, you are giving away oil and paying the person to take oil off your hands.
With a beg.
Please assist, please.
Just do
whatever you can with it, just to do me a favor. And because of this, Nigeria's oil was also hitting the international space for sale, and there was nobody willing to buy it. So what the government was expecting to come in was not coming in. Crude oil got to the tens. The price of crude oil got to between $10 and $20 in Nigeria. This is something that we were expecting to get about $70 for. We were getting about $10 for. So you can imagine that our entire income had shrunk over 7 times. So if you're expecting $700 and you get given $100, where do you start your matter from? Not only did this happen, that was one thing that happened to us. Because Nigeria wasn't earning dollars from crude oil sales anymore, the demand for foreign exchange increased. Everybody felt the economy was in trouble. So everybody started mopping up all the dollars they could find. Anybody who had naira, you know what? I need to get rid of my naira and take a dollar position because there's a possibility that there might be a revaluation of the naira, which did happen. So all of a sudden, dollars were scarce. Government isn't earning enough dollars. Everybody wants to acquire dollars, and we have debts and loans to service. So the $100 out of the $700, as we've just used as an example, would come in, and the first thing the government wants to do is to make sure that we don't default on any of our loans internationally. So the first thing they do is pay down the loans. The rest of it goes into the banking system because people have opened letters of credit, their transactions are like the pipelines that need to be serviced with dollars. They get the next ball. So at some point, world exchange weren't getting any dollars. Black market was barely getting any dollars. And this made it really tight. So one, we lose revenue. Three, the Naira gets devalued. Another thing that happened then was the scarcity of dollar. The demand for dollars really peaked. So dollar went from maybe 380 or 370 to like 450 almost overnight.
Yeah, and kept rising.
And kept rising. So what do you do in that kind of circumstance as a country? You go back to the drawing board. The first thing Nigerian government did was to go and check the budget and think, you know what, we can't afford what we planned for 2020. What do we do going forward to make sure that we don't get into trouble? So they went and trimmed down a lot of things and cut out things that they felt we could do without and came up with a new budget with new prices based on the new realities. Luckily, somehow the price of crude oil has started to climb back up. Oh, I forgot to mention, once the oil companies start to shut down production because there's no point producing if nobody wants to buy, there's nowhere to store it, there's no vessel to charter, people start, the economy starts to contract because people start to lose their jobs. Oil companies who had work programs for 2020 saying, oh, we'll drill 4 wells, all of a sudden are thinking, if I drill 4 wells I was drilling 4 wells based on $70 per barrel.
Yeah.
People are only going to pay me $10. It doesn't make any economic sense for me anymore. So what programs down? Both international oil companies, indigenous oil companies, local oil companies, and once they start shutting down production, nobody's renting the rigs anymore. Nobody's borrowing money from the banks anymore. You don't need as much support staff. All the unskilled labor you're going to hire, all the technical services, technical companies you're going to hire, everybody went into a renegotiation period where they're telling the people who are saying, you know what, I'm not going to need 100 man hours from your company anymore. I only need 10. So you can see how this filters right through the whole economy. So the economy is contracting. Jobs people are losing jobs, or your company is actually cutting back your hours. And because of the coronavirus and the spread, people are saying there has to be social distancing. So instead of 20 people clustering around, in an office, they're saying only 2 people.
Space. Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff going on at the same time, and it was a pile up and a build up of all of this that actually brought all the Nigerians to their knees. More so, the government was going around cap in hand telling all these companies that, you know what, we need to raise money to help this pandemic matter because the government alone can't face it. So even companies that are making less money, like banks and oil companies, central bank is still going to them saying there's COVID, please come and donate to us. So everybody was being hit left, right, and center. And this caused a even further depression in the economy in Nigeria. So that's to do with the revenue. So the revenue actually got down to the point where it affected every single person. So if I'm not going to work, I tell my staff, you know what, we're not doing any business now. I can't pay you your full salary anymore. You're going to be sitting at home for the next God knows how many months. Okay, I'm never paying you 50% or 60% of your salary, however the case may be. So the person who worked for me to go home and tells his wife, my dear, I'm not earning full salary anymore. I'm only earning 50. So instead of buying a bottle of groundnut oil, just buy your groundnut oil in a little nylon, just enough for us to use that. You know what? So
survival of the fittest.
The manufacturer of oil finds out that his oil is not doing so well in the market. The person selling his soap is not doing so well. The person doing toothpaste, maybe you are doing toothpaste and you are barely managing to use toothpaste. You're just going to tell yourself that, you know what, let's go back to chewing stick. If you have got a new cooker in your house and you are using gas, you're thinking, should you not go back to charcoal? Everybody's
well.
No, but that's the reality. If I bring out a dress from my wardrobe to wear now, the first thing I'm going to do is check the label. Is it hand wash or dry clean only? If it's dry clean only, I hang it back very quickly. Everybody's trying to conserve funds. In the conflicts, I want to drink Ogia Moi Moi now. I want to avoid anything imported because whoever is importing it is getting dollars at a high rate to import. So the price of everything imported has gone up. And what does this tell us as a nation? One, we haven't been prudent when we had the good times roll by. Two, we shouldn't be a mono resource dependent country. We shouldn't depend on just one thing like oil. If we have oil, cotton and cocoa and palm oil and groundnuts, when oil goes down, something else will be doing well somewhere else. So that's two things I've mentioned already. Three, we depend too much on imports. Nigerians have a flavor for imported goods. Anything imported we love. So these are the things structurally and from a government perspective, they need to start looking into. And then we're wasteful. There are too many leaks in the oil industry. So if $100 comes in, maybe 60% of it is what gets into the government coffers. 40% gets wasted because first of all, when the oil is coming, when we sell the oil, there's so many middlemen in the sale of the oil that by the time everybody takes their own little margin here, there, and everywhere, we started eroding the value. So the citizens are not getting the full value of their natural resource. And not just that, all our oil fields are being piped to terminals for export. There are many leakages in the pipelines. There's a lot of oil theft. There are no meters, so sometimes you put in 100 tons of fuel into a pipe at your point of production. By the time it gets to where it's being taken into the terminal, thieves have stolen them. Some have leaked out of the tank from leak seepages. So there's so many things. So there's so many areas where there are gaps and losses and poor accountability, that if we go back and start fixing all those areas that I've mentioned, we'll find out that we are doing a bit better in terms of national revenue than we are doing right now.
Wow.
So I'll just do that for now.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're getting so many messages already. So I'll be asking if you could read some of them for us as we move on the program. This one here, please help us read, ma'am.
What we have always done is worry. This is the time to act. The mindset is bad. The government is not helping those who want to do it legitimately. And that's Emmanuel Ebule. I hope I pronounced your name right.
Thank you.
We do worry. And when you were talking earlier, you had said that what can the citizen do? The citizen can do a lot. There's so much that the citizen can do. And I'll just mention a few things. First and foremost, we all need to get involved with the government and politics in Nigeria. So join a political party, get your party card. I know everybody says, oh, it doesn't matter which party you belong to, they're all the same. But you know what? If they're all the same, then join one.
Just be there.
Join one. Own a party card so that should something change and you need to lend your voice, you have a platform on which to speak. You don't have a platform to complain or worry if you haven't even taken your own first step. That's one thing. Put yourself out and be a politician. The human beings that are doing politics in Nigeria don't have two heads. They're just like you and I. We have Mr. Peter Obi. He was a businessman. He went into politics. And he's one of the people that we look at today and say, if he can do it, so can other people. I went into government as a public servant for 4 years. I'm not a politician. I didn't go back into politics. When my 4 year was over, I went back into my regular private sector commercial work. So everybody should play a role in the development of Nigeria. That's my first thing. Two, we need to be there to pick our leaders. If you're not a member of a party, you don't even have a voice. So you don't get to pick your leaders. You don't get to vote. And I'll tell you something. Everybody says that when we vote in Nigeria, they don't count it. That, they already know who is going to win. I'm not saying that it's correct or incorrect. I don't know. Because I'm not one of the behind the scenes people. But I know that you can only play around with votes that are not needed. So there are 100 people register to vote, and only 2 people come out, and there are 98
remaining that didn't vote.
that didn't vote. Then the people who want to manipulate have 98 votes to manipulate. So if you get up, if you register to vote and come out to vote, and only 10% or 5% of people don't come to vote, we're minimizing the error in which they can manipulate the votes. So let us all be responsible as Nigerians, register to vote and come out to vote. It's not convenient. Nobody wants to sit out in the sun all day, but you know what? You don't have the mouth to complain when you didn't register and you didn't vote, and then you complain about the government. The government we have is what we deserve.
A reflection, yeah.
It's a reflection of the people. So we need to play our role as citizens in the country. So citizens have their responsibility. Yes, there's the building of institutions. There's another thing citizens can do when it comes to building of institutions. First of all, the institutions are not being run by ghosts or angels.
True.
There are Nigerians like you and I that run those institutions. So when an institution is faulty, it's because the people who are running it are faulty. And they're not people we don't know. They are cousins, they are friends, they are schoolmates. Do we call them out when they're doing wrong? Or would your friend who you went to secondary school with, who you knew was a civil servant, was doing just as well as any other person, he suddenly shows up at the old boys meeting and comes with a siren car.
Bulletproof.
What do you do? Do you all just slap him on the back and welcome him? Oh boy, I'm so happy to see you.
And give him chieftaincy title.
Give him a chieftaincy and then ask for his business card because you want to go and visit him in the office to find out, oh, how can I get in on this good, good fortune?
It's advocacy. It's advocacy.
So, what are we doing in terms of checks and balances of people around us? Do we call out people who we know who are erring? That's what we should do as citizens. There are some countries that if you stole money, you would not be able to change your lifestyle because everybody around you will put a mouth on you to ask you, how did you come about this largesse? When I was a younger child in primary school, so this must have been in the early 70s, civil servants were probed by government. If you built a house and you built it too quickly and the house was large, they would ask you to take time off work, bring your bank statements, how you bought the land, how you paid for the contractors, every single thing you purchased, you would have to take to a tribunal to show how you came about what it is. Not in this day and age. Almost every civil servant lives in a mansion. And nobody talks. Because the people who should be calling them to book themselves are accomplices.
Aiding and abetting.
Yes. There was some thing that was going on WhatsApp yesterday that I saw where somebody was getting worried that he was going to face a tribunal, and he was talking to his mentor that he's so scared, and his mentor said, no, don't worry about it. When you get there, challenge the person who is asking you questions and look, dig up something about them. I'm sure you'll find something evil that they've done, worse than what you've done, and that they lose their credibility. And that's a fact.
Yeah. Oh, so you faint at last.
Nigeria, we need to be accountable to one another, and we need to bring our husbands, our fathers, our friends, our colleagues, bring them to the table and ask pertinent questions. Yeah. Then the government has responsibilities. There's a social contract between them and us as citizens. They're supposed to provide security for us as Nigerians. They're supposed to provide an enabling environment for us to do our businesses. They're supposed to provide, in terms of pandemics like this, succor to people. When they don't do this, how do we bring them to book? There's something called lobbying. Every local government has a representative. House of Representatives is full of these people that are saying they're representing us. Do you know who they are? Do you speak to them? Do you have their email address? Do you have their phone number? Are they really representing you, or are they just sharing money at each other? So we have to hold our lawmakers accountable. There's work for the citizens to do. There's work for the government to do. If we don't hold the government accountable, they'll just do the barest minimum. Collect their wages, go on research, just from COVID and shut in. They've gone on recess again. I had one or two people complain about it, but there wasn't a big rampant that, you know what, you guys are taking a good break. This is not time for another break. The country is in a state where we need a lot of help, we need a lot of changes. We'll take a break now. Sacrifice your break for the people of Nigeria. But when it's time to enjoy unhindered, so when it's time to make sacrifices, you guys should lead in the area of sacrifices. So there's a role for everybody to play. When government spends money, what are they doing with the money? How are they spending? Who got the contract? Who are the beneficial owners of the companies that got the contracts? Do we know what's going on in government? Do we follow the news? Do we get on and listen to the news, the NTA news at 9 o'clock or Tamil's news at 10 o'clock or whatever? Are we doing that? Are we reading the newspapers? Are we contributing as people who are in a contract with government? So, you know, the oil has spoiled certain parts of the country, but it's time to start to rebuild. So we need to go back to the drawing board and make government accountable for every little kobo, every little cent they make from oil, to make sure that Nigerians are benefiting and enjoying from this resource. And that not only are we enjoying that, we're putting some aside for the generations to come.
Wow. Okay, Ma. In case you just joined us, I'm sure you've missed a lot. We're still talking here with our energy expert and a consultant, and we're looking at the oil and gas industry and what we can do to diversify. I'll read some more messages here, and then we'll go on to ask my guests some more questions. This is coming from one of our regular viewers from Philippines in Asia, and it says, hello, you guys. Your Black American media brother from Asia is watching you from the Philippines island. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Madam is waving. Still him a second time. If you could help us read this.
Yes,
okay.
Especially in America, believe it or not, ego, greed, and racism has us at the global hotspot, and the majority, if COVID-19 deaths are Black Americans. You see, we're responsible for ourselves as a nation and the world. Nigeria is not an island, and I can tell you that if you go anywhere in the world, I don't care how far away in the world or how down under in Australia, you'll find a Nigerian there. So as global citizens that we all are, we need to conserve as much of our resources, because when pandemic like this happen, everybody has to come together to fight it. So there are other countries in Africa that are weaker and less enabled than Nigeria. Nigeria should be acting the big brother at this time. But because we've squandered our resources, we're not able to even take care of our process of taking care of those who are around us. So it's pertinent and it's important to also mention that as the supposed giant of Africa, we haven't played a pivotal role in this COVID-19, and it's a shame. And it's all back to the fact that we have the revenues, we have the resources, but we haven't managed it properly. And that's why we're not able to stand as we should, tall and strong on the continent.
Okay. So another one from Farouk Ahmed. You might like to read that as well and make a response.
Citizens and governments alike should be worried. If you talk about diversifying, it's a good step. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we are conservative, that we always talk about diversifying to traditional agriculture, which would not take us anywhere. If we are to diversify to the agri sector, then it must be mechanized. That is when we will catch up with the rest of the world. Secondly, the government should focus on giving its citizens skills of the 21st century. Moreover, the government should... I need you to scroll up for me so I can read the bottom of it. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Okay, I think that's where it stopped. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So sorry. Hold on, Ma. He sent it in two parts. So here's the second one.
If we're talking about imports, I believe it's the responsibility of the government to drive the boost of local production. By this, many citizens will patronize locally produced goods. So first thing we want to talk about is the diversification to the skills, 21st century skills. And then the third thing was export or import, something to do with local
agriculture. You've taken
local,
agriculture.
yes, diversification. Okay, I'll tell you what, my first degree is in food science and technology, so I'm very, very, very biased about agriculture. And I'm a sort of farmer. I own an 8,000 hectare farm, so I've dabbled a little bit in farming, and for a very short period, I was sitting commissioner in Ogun State, the commissioner for agriculture, and acting commissioner for agriculture in Ogun State. So I do have a bit of an understanding of why agriculture is the way it is. And this is just my view. So please, this is not to offend or challenge anybody on agriculture. Diversifying the economy is not necessarily going into agriculture. When we talk of diversification, agriculture is one of so many other ways. Entertainment industry is a one. Here we are, I'm talking to you across the globe right now, and my dear brother hasn't built a big television station. He's leveraging technology to do what people who have 500 times the kind of finances he has is doing. So you can leverage technology, you can leverage our entertainment industry. Anywhere you go in the world, you tell them you're Nigerian, and they know some Nigerian artists, they've watched Nollywood movies. So there's so many areas in which we can dive. Even our clothing is going abroad. We're doing a lot more than just oil and gas, but not enough. And the enabling environment for developing and growing and deepening these industries haven't been there.
Yeah.
When it comes to agriculture, there are two things. Everybody says, oh, everybody has to go into agriculture. Everybody cannot go into agriculture. In the Southwest, in the east of the country, it's a little different than in the northern part of the country where they have the savanna. The land is flatter, the vegetation is not as dense. So the cost of clearing land for agriculture is about 1/6 or 1/8 of what it costs in the South. In the South, you have to fell large trees. You have to uproot these large trees. You have to clear a lot of debris. Then you have to flatten the land.
And you have to deal with erosions too.
Yeah, you have to deal with so much. So by the time you factor all of this, which young person has the capacity or the financial strength to do all of that before even going into agriculture? And getting an agricultural loan is not cheap and it's not easy. So when they say, that the North is doing so well, they're growing this and they're growing that, you get a tractor, your land is cleared in a few days. You could spend months clearing land in the South. So there's that disparity. So let the people in the northern part of Nigeria focus on arable agriculture. And in the South, it probably makes more sense for us to do things in greenhouses and have vertical farms as opposed to, so a small piece of land cleared, but grow your farm upwards by having layers and layers of platforms that you're growing upwards. So the cost of clearing just the ground space is not as expensive as if you were trying to open up land on a horizontal space. Then maybe we will do better with things like poultry farming, fish farming, and all of those. So there has to be specialization when it comes to agriculture. Everybody cannot be everything. So those are the kind of things that we need to consider in agriculture. And yes, if you go into agriculture, the big money doesn't come from everybody going into farming with cutlasses and hoes. You need a few people who are doing mechanized farming and putting produce. And then we find out that in Nigeria, we lack aggregators. That's a very, very key space in the value chain of agriculture. Who is the person that if you wanted to buy 500 tons of cassava, has or knows how to gather 500,000 tons of cassava? So if I wanted to start making bread, I know where to go when I want flour in very large quantities. I'll go to flour mills or to Dangote or to Bua or any of the large importers of wheat. But if I wanted the same quantity of cassava or cassava flour in Nigeria, that we produce cassava, every part of Nigeria produces cassava, there's nowhere to go. So we don't have aggregators. So that's a space that is still very open. And that's where I would like to see a lot more activity. So you're not growing the cassava, you're just either financing people to grow cassava and buying it off them so that anybody who needs cassava has somewhere to go to buy bulk cassava. And if we choose to export cassava, you can go to these aggregators, get bulk from them, process and sell. The next thing is processing. Those are the areas where I see agriculture developing. Very few, if this is a pyramid, the people on top are the mechanized farmers, the next level is the aggregators, the next level are agripreneurs, people who are converting raw produce into finished goods to sell. So cassava is going into ethanol production, cassava is going into bread, cassava is going into gari. They are making, there's something the Yorubas called kokoro. I don't know what it's called. It's cassava flour, and it's cooked and it's fried in little long sticks, nice and crunchy. Those are beautiful snacks that would sell fantastically abroad. So those are the next layers in agriculture, not necessarily people who are going to till the land and do the production. So that's with diversification. So diversification in every area, in infrastructure, in agriculture, in entertainment, in technology. There's so many areas in which we can diversify, and the market is so large because we're a global economy now. You can sell anything anywhere. The next thing we talked about was the skills, 21st century skills. It's not the problem of government to give us 21st century skills. There's nothing you want to learn that's not on YouTube. There's nothing you want to learn that you cannot learn online. This COVID has shown us so clearly. Children have not gone to school now for 5-6 months. They are learning. There's something for everybody to do online. So let's leave the government to fix the things that they must fix, and let us fix the things that we can fix. Nigerians need to be encouraged to stop wasting their data, sharing jokes and pranks and musical videos and how to fix eyelashes and how to do a whole lot of other things, and spend that data learning 21st century skills, because you will benefit from it. You will increase your income, you will increase your knowledge, you will increase your exposure, and you will do better for yourself and your generations to come if you do that. So on that one, I say we should be fixing ourselves up to 21st century skills. Local production and the use of local production. Why do Nigerians not like made in Nigeria products? Oh, it's the finishing isn't quite there. When you buy, you put the made in Nigeria one beside the foreign one, it looks inferior, and that is correct, and that is true. But you know what? Charity begins at home. The more we buy our local things, the more those companies are going to thrive. The more they thrive, the more they're able to get better packaging, hire more experienced staff, send their own staff abroad for training. So we're going to have to go through a period where we're suffering and managing because we want to grow our business. I'll give you a homegrown example. If you have a young child that's age 1 or 2 or 3, and they don't know how to fix their shoelace, and you keep fixing it for them and fixing it, they'll end up being 15-year-old boys that don't know how to tie shoelaces.
True.
So as a mother, you're going to go through that frustrating period of watching the child do it wrong, do it slowly, do it sloppily. But as the child
learn from it.
They learn from it, they improve for it. So by the time they're 15, you're home free and you can show off a mature 15-year-old who knows how to tie his shoelace. So this is what they call growing pains. Growing pains. We're in that stage. So let's continue to patronize our brands, patronize our local brands, and watch them grow. So that when our children do get out of school, these companies would have grown from 3-man companies to 30-man companies to 300-man companies, and they would be the ones to employ our children. We're always all rushing our children abroad and hoping they get jobs abroad. If the people abroad were not buying their own products and their factories were not thriving and their businesses were not thriving, our children will not get those jobs abroad. So let's grow and fix our problems and be the solution to our own problems.
Thank you, ma'am. Some more messages are coming in, so let me quickly read them as we plan to wind up. This one is from Emmanuel Bayo, and it says, until we are able to diversify the economy and as well provide uninterrupted power supply in Nigeria, we will also be in tight corner. Diversification is the sure way out of our dwindling economy. That is Emmanuel Bayo from Kano. Odunze Daniel says, quite an interesting topic you have there, sir. My questions are our leaders worried? Do you think they are bothered about the future of this country? 2, why is it that over the years, right from the time of oil boom till now, our leaders have failed to save and envision other ways to sustain the economy? 3, can the NNPC be probed? 4, why is it that the refineries are not working? 5, can the nation look towards agriculture and technology? I think you talked about that. And lastly, 6, for technology to thrive, power supply is key. Yeah.
Okay. I'll quickly jump in on the power. Yeah. Power is so diversified at the moment that, you know, the opportunities are huge. It's a big thing. If only Nigeria could catch up with the rest of the world where it comes to power, things would be a lot easier for a lot of Nigerians. So what are we doing about it? Now we're not relying on government producing power because, you know, we have private independent power producers, you know, we have gas to power, and, you know, this comes in so many different ways. Now factories can run on CNG, some are running on diesel, on black oil. There's so many options. And then we have rural electrification. We have markets now that are being powered by solar. We have hybrids, which is a little bit of gas and a little bit of hydro. So there's so many things, but we need to move it away from government control. And there've been a lot of reforms in the power sector, and there's a boost lately, especially during this COVID period. Most of the COVID centers are not being powered from the grid. They're being powered by independent power solutions and stuff like that. So I see this ramping up post, you know, COVID, or, you know, from this time onwards. People have seen so many solutions come to bear that people are not going to wait for on-grid power anymore to power themselves. And it's going into the rural areas now where homes can have small power units where you can put on your television, about 6 or 8 light bulbs, a refrigerator, a fan, and stuff like that. So we will see a change. And it's the aggregation of all these little changes that is going to bring about the accumulation to where we want. Government does have a role. We want them to keep their role to reforms and regulation and allow the private sector to do this. Unfortunately for us, you know, the private sector still need finance to get these things going. But by and large, I see that a lot more independent commercial companies are going into power, and there will be a lot of mileage that we'll be able to, you know, count going forward in the next few years. On leadership, we've talked about leadership when I said, you know, we need to participate, we need to get more involved, we need to hold our leaders accountable, we need to hold our friends and our relatives, even those in government, accountable. So on the leadership thing, be a good example. Everybody has a sphere of influence. If you own an eatery, all your staff are your people, they're your constituency. You show them good leadership, hold them accountable to the kind of standards you set. If everybody did that in their little corners, we'll find out that when government reaches out and brings people in, whether local government or state government, you'll find out that people's behavior and people's attitude are improved, and each person is a better leader. On that note, I always want to say that please, anybody who has any influence in schools need to start teaching civics, moral instructions again. Those are the things that allow you know what you should do, who's responsible for what, and keep citizens accountable. And it's good for children to start learning those things from a very, very early age. So it's part and parcel of them as they grow up. On whether NNPC can be probed, who is going to probe NNPC? Is it the National Assembly or the executives or the judiciary? I don't want to go there.
Or the Muslim boys. Or the Muslim boys and the VI boys.
VI boys, exactly. You've been a senator, I've been a senator, you've been a this, I live in Mushi, I live in... No. Let's not go there. We don't have a lot of time for that. And then on the refineries, my dream for the refineries in Nigeria is that they will get sold to private and commercial entities who know what to do and are businessmen. Government has never run any commercial entity profitably before. I always use LMA Petrochemical Company as an example. When government had it for many years, They couldn't make heads of it. It was a cost center. Every year, government was pumping money into it, and we were getting nothing out of it. Indorama buys it. They don't change the stuff. They don't change anything. In less than 2 years, they're making a profit. All of a sudden, government is earning dividends. Nigerian LNG2 is another company. It exists in the same Nigeria with Nigerians. Every year, they're giving the government billions of dollars in profit, in dividends. Why can't Nigerian government run entities profitably? Corruption, lack of transparency, sloppiness. So please give it to private sector person who's gone to the bank to borrow money to make it work. They will make it work. We should sell off all the government assets and put them in the hands of private sector. And I believe government should take a stake in there because of the strategic services these entities have. However, let them be silent owners and let the commercial private sector run it so that government can start earning interest and develop it. And we do desperately need the intervention of the private sector in the downstream sector, in refineries. Nigeria should not be the country that imports all its petroleum products. It's disgraceful.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am. I got some messages here again. They're just bombarding, but I know you'll be able to take them. Beatrice is sending you love all the way from Ghana. Beatrice Amam, Barrister Beatrice. She's sending her love there. And Murphy Israel sent one too, but he sent another one on this side. So let me quickly read it for you, ma'am. It says, we've heard, Murphy is from Port Harcourt, and he says, we've heard a lot of diversifying from one sector to another ever since the inception of every government. What you hear is let's diversify, including the recent administration. Nigeria is so blessed with natural resources, so numerous to mention. Now the question is, can we do without oil? Even when the oil is dwindling, it's capital no. That's what he said. What do you have to say, ma'am?
Well, we can do without oil, but as I said at the very beginning, Nigeria is a gas-rich country, and gas can take over everything oil is doing, plus some. It can power electricity, it can power vehicles, it can power factories. What more do we need? We need to develop our gas sector. We need to build infrastructure around gas sector. We need to exploit LPG. We need to exploit CNG and associated gases. Those are the things that the government should be investing in right now.
Yeah. Quickly, I'll take a few more as we wrap up. Sorry, ma'am. There are so many messages coming in, so I just beg you to let's take some more. This one is from Tayo Isaiah, I know, from Abuja. He said, of course, any country will be worried when they find themselves in the same case as Nigeria. Though we have a lot of ways to diversify, it comes with its issues here and there, which makes it difficult to easily diversify the economy. Take, for instance, agriculture is one of the feasible areas to diversify to. But at the same time, we have bandits versus farmers clash, various communal clash and attacks on local farming communities affecting the yield. But as a country, we can always find a way out in every situation. Let's not forget we have let's not forget we have mining in states like Maiduguri, Zamfara, and others. We shall, as citizens, need to stand up and demand better governance from our leaders. Taiwo Isaiah from Abuja. What do you have to say, ma'am?
Well, I know there's no sector that doesn't have challenges. There's none. So wherever we diversify into, there will be challenges. For, you know where people make the most money from? Solving problems, preferring solutions that people are willing to pay for. So instead of us, listing out all the problems that government has, we as citizens start thinking that how do we mitigate these challenges? So if farming, if people are having clashes, do we need to continue to reinvest in places that we found to be unstable? What is it that they plant in Maiduguri, for example, that cannot grow elsewhere? What are the substitutes for that one thing? For example, if you have a dairy farm and you get milk, are there substitutes for milk? There are. So maybe we need to start looking at multiple substitutes for any one product. So if there's a situation where one area isn't doing so well, we can easily shift into a substitute. I mean, for people who have dietary issues, there are a lot of people who rely on plant-based milk products, soy milk. I don't know what they call this thing. There's something ginger tiger nut. You can make milk out of tiger nut.
Out of it, yeah.
There's so many things, and these are things that don't spoil. If you had a dairy farm, for example, once you milk the cow, you have to refrigerate. But if you have your what did I call it? Tiger nut.
Tiger nuts, yeah.
For months without doing anything, not needing refrigeration, and only produce the milk as at when needed. So as a nation, we have to start thinking creatively. We can't just say that, oh, because all the whole world, are based, they depend on cow milk. We have to depend on cow milk. The other sources for us to get the same kind of nutrients that people get out of, because what do we get out of milk? It's protein. We have beans. So we need to start looking at things that are alternatives to whatever the world is and stop following the world blindly. We need to start becoming leaders and allow the world to look into our economy and environment and start copying some of the innovative things that we can do and we're doing.
Wow, thank you so much. Sorry, my viewers, so many messages, but time is not on our side. And I told you guys that with Madame, she could be here till 5 p.m. She's loaded. I really want to thank you, ma'am. And I know we might have to do a part 2 soon, because there are other aspects we really need to cover later on, maybe like the fossil fuel and a few more areas, and then the way forward. Yeah, but finally, what's your last parting word to everyone, to our leaders, to our citizens? I know you really hammered on why every citizen need to be in the forefront of where issues that affect them come from. Because every time I talk about it on this show, it looks as if I'm supporting the government. But I keep telling everyone, these discussions about our welfare, if we're not there, I mean, it doesn't make sense, Sometimes when they see me in political gatherings and they're like, you have time, Mo. Others are, I said, but we need to be there, We need to raise our voices, and I'm happy you're saying it, Coming from someone who's been in this field for a whole long time, it's an authentic one to hear you say all that. But finally, as we wrap up, what's your last final words of advice to everyone?
My last word of advice is that you are the captain of your own ship. Go online, get resources, educate yourself, re-educate yourself, build up your capacity. If you have capacity inside of you, even the Nigerian government can't stop you. If there's things you want to do that you cannot find a space to do it in Nigeria, the whole world is on the internet right now. You can be somebody huge outside of this continent, outside of this country. So all you need to do is develop yourself, build yourself. And once you start succeeding outside, Nigeria will want to affiliate with you. You'll come back a hero. So go out there and be your very best. But please, coronavirus is real. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and be safe.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ma. I've been talking to Madam Ronke Onadeko, and thank you. It's been a pleasure. You just don't know how happy I am to get. I wish they know how terribly busy you are. They will just appreciate this time you gave us, Madam, it's only God that I would say anything, but just to say thank you on behalf of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we thank you so much. So our viewers, we thank you all for watching from all across the globe. The videos will be here on Facebook and on YouTube too. So even after the program, it will be there for you to watch. And then Madam will be responding to, it's a conversation that is ongoing and unending. So she'll be responding to some of the comments there. I'll also forward it to her, those comments that we didn't read. I want to thank everyone who joined, and sorry to as many as we couldn't read. Time is a constraint for us, but like she's promised, we'll bring her back hopefully when she finds time again, and then she will trash out some of the other things we needed to talk about. Next week Tuesday is another edition, and International Youth Day is on the 12th of August, which is on Wednesday. So Shagalinku will be doing a series of youth talk on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, just to commemorate the International Youth Day. So you wouldn't want to miss, but stay by on the program. Like our pages, the informations will be coming as it goes. Once again, thanks Thanks to my guests and thanks to everyone who joined us. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, urging you all to have a beautiful Saturday and stay blessed. And Madam, in regards to your kids, how are you coping with them in this period?
It's a wonder and a blessing to have them. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love to them, ma'am, and to your
Thank
family.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye-bye.